So, anyway, here's where it's linked. 10 best movies, 2000 through 2009. Kal Kat, okay? And I'm not wearing my glasses, just because. I don't need them to read. I've got a script in front of me. Alright, now, let's see. With number 10, Wally. It's a cartoon movie by Pixar. They rarely make bad movies. And it's about an environmentalist story about a little robot trash compactor device that's left behind on Earth after all humanity has gone virtually extinct except for a bunch of fat cats that take off on the ship to go out into space, and they send back another probe hundreds of years later, another robot, to see if life is returning to Earth after it's been decimated by trash and junk. And the other robot joins Wally, and they return to the ship and attempt to, through their own vicariousness, overthrow the lackadaisical, overweight characters who are on the ship. By no fault of their own necessarily, they sort of accidentally overthrow them. So, yeah, that's Wally, and a message about environmental stuff. Yeah, and the cat's meowing down there. Can't hear that anyway. Well, she comes up here. She'll be in the anyway. Movie number 9 is Capote. Not to be confused with Infamous, which came out a year later, about the same thing. This is the story of Truman Capote, who was the 1980s flamboyantly homosexual man who wrote In Cold Blood, about the killer of that family in Kansas, I think it was. Yeah, it was a 2005 movie. Yeah, it should have got the Oscar for Best Picture instead of Crash, which pretty much everybody agrees out on the net. It's like, why did Crash get the Oscar? When clearly there were 2 or 3 other movies that deserved it way better than the remake of Crash. I mean, the original Crash was in the 1990s. It's a completely different story. They just took the title. Anyway, so, okay, anyway, it was good. It was a good Truman Capote story. Seymour Hoffman was in it. He played Capote. Extremely flamboyantly gay. And he did such a good job of it. He should have got he should have got Best Oscar for it. Yeah, so he wasn't being homophobic, he was being homoerotic, I guess. Is that right? Yeah. All right, anyway, the next movie is number 8 on the list is Batman Begins. Which was the reimagining of Batman in 2005 by director Christopher Nolan, the guy who did Memento, which I previously thought was kind of a mess. Well, in Batman Begins, it isn't a mess, and we have Christian Bale as Batman, and a bunch of other interesting characters like Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul from the 90s Batman comics, and that's the character he's playing, and he's playing the Ra's al Ghul who trains Batman in martial arts. And then we have the Scarecrow Cillian Murphy was playing him, and it was very cool. It was a real cool Batman. Didn't use as much special effects. Went back to the darker sort of re-origin story, Batman, and it was very cool. So yeah, and the new Batmobile was like a Hummer vehicle tank, which was just really cool. All right, number 7, Coraline. From earlier this year, an animated movie by the guys that did The Nightmare Before Christmas. Coraline was almost entirely stop motion, except for a few little CGI bits in there, and it's amazing. It was a movie about this little, depressed gothic girl who hangs out with this sort of other equally strange boy, and then she goes on an adventure in her crawl space, which every little kid has done if they've had a crawl space. They've crawled up into the attic or in the basement and go into the crawl space. Except she finds a strange world there where these characters with button eyes are in there, and they secretly attempt to kidnap her and take her into their realm of evil. And of course she has to escape. Which is an interesting premise, because little kids are always thinking about the boogeyman. kind of a boogeyman sort of lady in it. She's a spider lady. Yeah. Possibly the people who did this did some of the animation for the Beast Machines. Maybe not. Maybe they're just ripping it off. There was a spider in Beast Machines. Well, there's a giant spider. Maybe not. Okay, next we have number 6. So that was number 7, wasn't it, Coraline? Yeah. Coraline was number 7. Number 6. Yeah, Coraline was 7. Number 6 is Serenity. Serenity is a movie based on the TV series Firefly, which was aborted by the Fox TV network. Not news, but the TV network, the entertainment end. Because they didn't understand it, and after 16 episodes, just canceled it. After showing it out of sequence, and it was a sequential show, you had to watch it in sequence, or you didn't get it. That was not a bright-eyed move on their part. In fact, kind of dumb. So that wasn't. But the movie version of this is a clever, tight script. Joss Whedon was the creator, and he was the guy that did Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the series, and a number of other things. I think Angel was another one. Had Nathan Fillion and Summer Glau and a bunch of other characters playing a sort of ragtag, like ruffian pirate characters. Sort of if Han Solo had a crew of at his disposal of humans that had various personality traits that were kind of pirate-like and smuggler-like, and they were all out in space, basically. The evil empire in this is called the Federation, just to knock at Star Trek a little bit and say, ha, they're the evil empire. But it was not related to Star Trek. It's just a Star Trek and Star Wars amalgamation sort of thing with a ship. Good story. And it's number 6 of, and it was a 2005 movie. A lot of 2005 ones here. And yeah, that was a good one. So, and that was number 6 on the list of this movie. Was Firefly. I picked that up, watched that, and it inspires you to watch the series. And then you watch the series and go, oh, well, that's what they were doing. And you don't need to have seen the series, which I think is cool, because I saw the movie before I saw the series. I got it. It was fun. It was almost going back to the fun that was the original Star Wars in the 70s, which I saw in video. I was 6 years old. I saw it in video later on when I was like 8. But anyway, let's see. This one, however, I was 34 when it came. Yeah. Okay, the next one is number 5. Last episode, Silly Kelly, that character said it was 2, but actually it wasn't. Star Trek, the reimagining. With J.J. Abrams' version, and Silly Kelly reviewed that. It was with Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, and Carl Urban, among other characters. Zoe Saldana and a bunch of others, playing the Star Trek crew as they appeared out of the Academy, fighting an alien from the 24th century named Nero, and coming in contact with Spock from the 24th century, played by Leonard Nimoy, who is still alive. They could have got Shatner, he's still alive too, but they couldn't write it into the story how to bring Shatner back from the dead from Star Trek Generations. And I agree with them. They would have had to have a whole movie about that to pull that off. They would have to go into the Nexus and pull him out and say he's part of the universe and make him like Q or something. No, those were better ones. Well, they weren't, actually. Number 4 is a little-known movie called Whale Rider. Which made a star out of a character known Keisha Castle-Hughes, who was about 12 or 13. I think it got some awards back in 2003. The Oscar nods and whatnot. One of the youngest Oscar nods ever. Playing that character that she played. In the story, she's supposed to be a little Maori girl from Australia, and the Maori culture's in there, and they have the whole culture, Aboriginal culture they have there, and you get to see that, and it's kind of cool how she like comes of age and stuff, and there's like this, she and her uncle have this like like issues and stuff because he wants to train only boys to be the fight with the bow staff, and since trained in martial arts and did have the bow staff, I know about that. The bow staff is very, very cool. So a movie with a girl with a bow staff was just cool. So, that wasn't the only reason. It was a good movie. Okay, the next movie is Pixar's Up, number 3. Up was very good. 2009 again. A lot of 2009 good ones. Anyway, this year was way better than the other years. And Up was about an old man, curmudgeonly old guy, who is a widower, and he decides to build a giant, like, balloon house. He used to be a balloon maker. So he builds a floating house out of millions of balloons and floats away. But unknowingly, the old man, it's a cartoon, the old man takes along a Boy Scout who was a neighborhood kid, and he's like hanging on the house. It was a fun movie to go and visit his old man's trying to find his childhood friend who was a 20s era explorer. So he goes out to the explorer, and we meet the explorer, and we meet his crazy dogs that have collars that are programmed to talk, and it's just an awesome kid movie and adult movie for all ages. Pixar again, that's the end. All right, now number 2, another Batman movie. Oh gee, I see a pattern. Another Batman movie, The Dark Knight, which had Helmer Christopher Nolan again. And also, Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne. Although in some of his other movies, Christian Bale went a little bonkers, like in the Terminator one. But in this one, he was cool. So, anyway, somebody else went bonkers in this one. In this one, we have Heath Ledger taking over the role of the Joker. And Heath Ledger got a posthumous Oscar for this movie in 2008 when it came out. But really, the movie should have been Best Picture 2008 because it was really cool. And it's just ridiculously cool. So, and Heath Ledger did such an amazing job in this. It's just insane how cool he was. And Jack Nicholson, who had played the Joker 19 years earlier, almost 20 years earlier. Now it's 20 years. He said, it's really hard to play that character. You got to do it right or it'll go crazy. Well, apparently he didn't take his advice, and he did go crazy. He went bonkers and couldn't handle it, so he overdosed on drugs and died in 2008 after the movie was made and after he was doing another movie. I don't know if it was because he did the movie or whether he was just already depressed, because he was such a method actor, like he was like really obsessed with the method, Yeah, since I'm not really a method guy, I don't need to worry about that, but you never know. No, I'm not gonna go nuts. But Heath Ledger did go nuts, and he died. So that sucks. Sort of like The Crow with Brandon Lee, where he died like after the movie was released. Yeah. So there was number 2, The Dark Knight, the new Batman movie, which Tim Cantrell and I saw that one, and he's the Batman fan, and he's like, oh, awesome, best Batman ever. Now the first one was based on the '90s Batman comics, like the Batman Returns and comics, not the Tim Burton ones. And this and a number of other ones were inspired of this. But of Dark Knight, it was clearly the Dark Knight comic book, as well as The Long Dark Halloween. So the first one was something else. The Long Dark Halloween and the Killing Joke were both inspirations for both of those movies, actually. And the idea of making the Scarecrow come back, all the fans wanted that. That became the first one. The Scarecrow. I assume that Christopher Nolan's going to do Catwoman next, because what else is he going to do? But this time, no Kurtzman and Nerke, don't have them rated. Yeah, they did Catwoman once, they had their chance. They failed. Tim Burton did it years ago, he did it better. I think get Tim Burton to write it. I don't know. Anyway, number 1 is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Because why wouldn't it be? This was the most awesome fantasy trilogy ever attempted, and it pissed off Hollywood, because they're like, hey, you guys beat us to the punch over there in Australia. You and Peter Jackson, who did Peter Jackson had directed these obscure horror movies like Dead Alive and Brain Dead and stuff. Same one, and it's the same movie. and Bad Taste. And now he does this big epic fantasy thing, gets his own like creature shop together that are better than the Henson creature shop. He gets a Weta Workshop to do this thing. They film it all back to back over about 6 years it took them to do it. But really, they started the production to release the movies in the early 2000s. So they would be out by 2002 through 2003. It looks like 2001 to 2003. So they started in the 90s and then worked their way into the 2000s. And were able to complete it by 2003. Finally, after earning $1 billion on it, I think is what they earned on it, the Academy gave the final movie the Academy Award for Best Picture and a number of others. The whole trilogy should have got the award every year. 2001, 2002, 2003. It's that good. Now, some people might debate that and say, no, you're just a fantasy dork. But it was a great story. An epic saga. Just like the late 70s and the early 80s, it was the original Star Wars. This is a trilogy for the next generation. It had everything. It had camaraderie, coming of age, quest to destroy the ring, that type of thing. And even though Kevin Smith was making fun of it in Clerks 2, he kind of, how could you not? Anyway, that is the top 10. And yes, this episode just has a top 10 list, but, it's funnier than the Letterman version, top 10s. So there. So, next character that comes in, let's be outrageous. And this is Humor-esque Part 2.